Half in the bag. Fuck movies.
If you're a big kid or a grown-up, you sit on the potty or toilet seat, the seat that goes up and down. I'll explain why later on. Inside every toilet bowl, there's water. There's also a little handle that flushes the toilet.
Hey, Jay.
Hey.
So have you heard about this new Alfred Hitchcock movie they have?
Oh, is that the one where Anthony Hopkins looks like a white version of Eddie Murphy in the Nutty Professor films?
Yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen the movie yet. I want to, though. I'm a fan of Hitchcock.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a really good movie. I just haven't seen a lot of Hitchcock movies.
What? Really?
Yeah.
How can you call yourself a film expert and not have seen Hitchcock?
I never called myself a film expert.
Oh.
You know, there's a lot you two jackasses don't know about movies. You've never seen an Alfred Hitchcock film, and you've never even seen a James Bond movie.
I never told him about that.
You didn't ever tell him about that.
I'm gonna go find out just how much you two really know about films.
You gotta leave the house to do that?
Yeah, where are you going?
Don't you worry about that. Your ignorance has given me an idea.
Hey, speaking of poorly thought out ideas, have you seen The Hobbit?
My dear Frodo, you asked me once if I had told you everything there was to know about my adventures. While I can honestly say I have told you the truth, I may not have told you all of it.
Bilbo Baggins. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey is the first film in a new trilogy of films from director Peter Jackson. Now, you've probably seen the Lord of the Rings films unless you've been living under a rock, but The Hobbit is based on an earlier, shorter book written by legendary author J.K. Rowling. This makes The Hobbit technically a prequel and thus pointless. Follow the adventures of Bilbo Baggins and a group of dwarves as they attempt to reclaim their dwarven kingdom from the clutches of an evil dragon named Smaug. Jay, what did you think of The Hobbit, An Unexpected Flop?
Bilbo Baggins has a line near the end of the movie where he says, "I hope the worst is past us," or something to that effect.
Yes.
And I hope that's the case with this movie.
You didn't think it was bad?
No, that's not to say I thought it was bad. I actually liked it quite a bit. But it's, I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I should say that. I'm not a big fantasy guy or anything, but I really, really like those movies a lot. And I enjoyed a lot of this movie. It was nice to be back in this universe. And there's a lot of stuff to like in it, but it feels like a very conflicted movie. It feels like a movie that's trying to do two very sort of contradictory things. One, it's trying to be a faithful adaptation of the shorter children's book, The Hobbit, but it's also trying to reach the same epic heights of the sort of grand filmmaking scale of the original Lord of the Rings movies. And those two things don't exactly go together.
Well, to me, this is a tough one. Peter Jackson is a very competent filmmaker, although he's doing something which is almost mind-numbingly retarded when we talk about the high frame rate, but
We will get into that.
Get into that later. But when I look at this, I see a couple of things. I see Peter Jackson and the studios saying, make more of those movies that made us a lot of money.
Those movies made approximately a gazillion dollars.
Yeah. And Peter Jackson also saying, I should probably make these movies before someone else does. And Peter Jackson also saying, I should probably make these movies before Sir Ian McKellen dies.
Oh.
It's the fact of life. He's pretty old.
Yeah.
And he looks old and tired in this one. So, it's a bit macabre and a bit mean to say, but it's a legitimate concern because he is Gandalf and he's an excellent Gandalf. And you don't really want to see another Peter Jackson film with a different person playing Gandalf. So yeah, the time is of the essence here. They make money. Peter Jackson likes making them. He likes the universe. But again, I think you said this after seeing the movie. You said The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey feels like having the appetizer after the meal.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we've already had the main course. Now here, have some potato chips. And that's why they're trying to overcompensate for that by having, by incorporating elements from other Tolkien writings that are in this universe, and really sort of padding it out and having lots of filler, lots of elongated action scenes that are taken from other pieces of writing.
I believe the expression is scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yes, and I understand that Peter Jackson really does love Tolkien, and he loves this world and loves this writing, and it shows. It's a little bit different than, obviously money is an issue, and the idea of making these to make more money is a real concern. Stretching it out into 3 movies, because 3 movies will make more money than 1 movie or 2 movies. But it's it feels a little less slimy than it does with something like Twilight, because there's genuine people of talent behind the camera and people that do like making this. So it's a little bit different there.
Yeah, I would say it's, see, that's the problem is these are all kind of mild concerns. And I don't know anyone who's outraged about these movies.
I'm sure somebody is saying it's the worst movie ever until the next worst movie ever. But
Right, because it's not. It feels like all the things I mentioned, and it also feels like you said, gathering up as much source material as possible and kind of making a Frankenstein's monster of a movie.
I think it's sort of like we're not going to probably make anything past The Hobbit as far as other Tolkien adaptations. So all these other pieces of writing from the Silmarillion, from there's other short stories and stuff.
Might as well squeeze
Just
them in
get it all in here. 1, so we can make it into 3 movies, and 2, because it'll probably be the last time we do this.
I can't just go running off into the blue. I am a Baggins. Wait! Of Baggend.
Bilbo, allow me to introduce Fili, Kili, Oin, Loin, Dwalin, Balin, Biffa, Bofa, Wampa, Nori, Ori, and the leader of our company, Thorin Oakenshield.
It reminded me a lot of Jackson's King Kong movie, where it's sort of frustrating. The storytelling is frustrating because it's so sort of stop and start.
Well,
And the individual segments are entertaining in their own right, but on a narrative level, it can be very frustrating.
the difference with The Hobbit is The Hobbit was a children's book, and I actually read The Hobbit.
Yeah, I read it too when I was younger.
Yeah,
It's 200 some pages, not super
it's
long.
fairly light compared to the Lord of the Rings novels.
Yeah.
And I don't remember much about it. I remember Bilbo talking to Screech. What's his name? In this movie, long stretches of time go by where nothing really happens with The Hobbit.
No, he kind of takes the back seat, and it becomes the dwarf movie for a while.
Yeah.
The dwarf's adventure movie.
Yeah, and then they bring up some of the bigger Middle-earth story elements, which involve Gandalf and whatever the fuck the elf is named. And
and him.
Kate Blanchett
Kate
shows
Blanchett's
up, and they're like, and then Christopher Lee shows up, who's also 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah.
They're all there, and they're talking about these big Middle-earth issues and the things to come, the necromancer and the grave danger approaches, and you're like, whoa,
It's all
big things!
it's all to sort of tie it in with the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
And that sucks out the air from the simple children's tale of a little happy hobbit going on this big adventure.
Yeah.
It's like the big adventure comes first, and there is also a happy hobbit in it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a pole shift, because Peter Jackson probably likes all the darker, bigger, more grandiose elements of Tolkien stuff.
And that's why he started with Lord of the Rings, I would imagine.
And,
he wants to make The Hobbit. That's a little kiddie movie.
Right.
Until Lord of the Rings comes out and makes a ton of money, and now we'll do The Hobbit.
Yeah, he didn't make a single film adaptation of The Hobbit first,
Right.
and then move on. He started with the bigger, more juicier stuff, which is fine.
It is, but that's what's sort of odd about this movie is that, okay, now we're going to go back and do The Hobbit, but we have to add all these other elements that don't belong there.
Yeah.
Just because now Lord of the Rings is considered this huge epic fantasy saga.
Now there can be 2 epic fantasy sagas.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
Where have we seen that before?
The winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flamed
It's sort of amazing how we just sorry, please leave this in the final edit. It is sort of amazing how we're watching on screen and there's 3 different types of characters from different sizes, but they're all normal human size, all on screen at the same time, completely flawless.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh yeah, oh that's right.
That's
Ian
well, that's
McKellen,
the best thing an effect can do is you forget that it's an effect.
Yeah, and
And,
it's all blended. It's like perfect, and
That stuff is. Peter Jackson's sort of, it's become tradition almost where some effects are really amazing, and then there's others where you're like, oh, was that finished? There's some of that in this, like with the brown Radagast, whatever the brown wizard's name is. When the brown wizard is riding his little bunny sled, and you're like, oh, ooh.
I didn't think it looked bad.
No? That stuck out to me as looking very...
The one thing that looked like fake for some reason was when the guy sneezed on Bilbo and he's holding
the way
him
he
in
was
his
holding
hand.
him. I think proportions are always tough to do. Like King Kong had that problem too, and King Kong looks great in the wide shots, but when he's holding her, she looks sort of awkward in his hands.
Yeah,
That's probably a limit of the technology at this point.
Yeah, it just looked like he was like keyed on there, fake, and it didn't look like it matched. It just kind of stood out to me, but everything else, you know, all those cities and the scenery and...
I liked a lot of the creatures. I think some people might be complaining about the overuse of CG in this one versus the other ones, but there's so many real effects and miniatures, and I liked a lot of the creatures in this. They had sort of, even though they were CG instead of puppets, they reminded me tonally a lot of some of the Jim Henson stuff, like Labyrinth or The Storyteller, the series he did.
Well, let me say this. I don't think I'm a huge fan of Tolkien. I think it's a lot of detail.
It's that's the thing is Peter Jackson's made action movies out of stories that aren't action stories.
Yeah.
But he's, you know, the structure of Tolkien is very, I guess that this is appropriate then because it's not a direct, you know, smooth linear narrative.
Yeah, like we went back and we watched the Hobbit cartoon.
Oh yeah, just for contrast, we decided to watch the Rankin Bass cartoon.
Yeah, just to kind of refresh our memories of what was in The Hobbit and what was added in and taken from other source material and stuff like that. And yeah, we got to the point where this film ends and we saw all the scenes beyond that will most likely appear in the next 2 films. The hiding in barrels and the...
I was just imagining what that'll look like in Peter Jackson's movie.
It's almost like honestly, I don't have much of an interest in seeing the next 2 films.
Really?
I will see them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I can just foresee everything. I'm like, okay, I'll watch them, but Bilbo helps the dwarves escape in barrels, wine barrels or something like that are empty, and they go down and float on a river. And yeah, we're watching it. We're thinking, okay, we're gonna have this giant waterfall, and they're gonna go off the waterfall. And
it's gonna go off for 20 minutes.
It's gonna be this big action scene because we got to stretch this material.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I've seen it. I can see it in my mind's eye.
I think a part of it, more than just stretching the material into 3 movies, is just that's kind of Peter Jackson's general mentality. Is he likes to drag things out like this. He likes excess, and that goes all the way back to his early splatter movies. I mean, you look at like Dead Alive. That movie is about excess. The gore is taken to such an extreme that it's funny. The battle scenes in the first Lord of the Rings trilogy, I would say, are rather excessive, but they are reaching an overall goal. There's a point to them. And this movie, in The Hobbit, there's a lot of excessive action scenes that don't really serve any sort of purpose, other than it might have been a little thing that was mentioned in the books, and he brings it out into this big elaborate action scene.
Could make an action scene out of it.
Another good example would be his King Kong. The original King Kong fights a T-Rex. So in the Peter Jackson one, he has to fight 2 T-Rexes, and it has to go on for 30 minutes, and they have to fall in a cavern and get caught up in vines, and it just taken to such an extreme.
Watching King Kong, you're an hour and a half into it, and I'm like, they haven't even left Skull Island yet.
Did they even get to Skull Island by an hour and a half? They're on that boat forever too.
Yeah. The flip side of that, though, is that Peter Jackson is actually a good actor-director, though. Like, all the performances in all these Lord of the Rings movies are really good, and they're really rich and well-directed, and there's a lot of emotion and all this stuff. But, like you said, at the same time, you watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and there's this big, like, looming thing that's going on, and it feels really big.
Yeah.
In this, there's the dwarves. They they get kidnapped by the trolls. They have a fight scene with the goblins.
I can't understand what you're saying about no goblins.
And then they end up in, they're not trolls underground.
Underground, they're goblins.
Goblins.
I haven't got no goblins, they're ghosts.
They end up in the goblin lair and they meet the Goblin King. And it's like one scene after the next. It's an adventure movie. It's almost like a road trip movie.
Yeah.
In Fantasyland. But then every time, what's his face, the wizard guy, Gandalf, he shows up and he's like, I'm here to save you. Okay,
That happens multiple
saved by
times.
Gandalf.
Yeah. A lot of the action scenes have the same sort of arc to
And,
them.
and you know that they're not going to get anywhere at the end of this movie. So it's like, okay. And the Hobbit is like that. It's just a little, it's just a little guy, and he goes along adventures. They throw an arc in there with Bilbo. You know, he says only it takes true courage to know when to kill and when not to kill. And then he's trying to prove his worth to Oakenshield, the leader of the dwarves.
Yeah, Thorin.
Yeah,
right?
Thorin Oakenshield, and he's like, that Hobbit's just a little pussy. And then he's like, I'm not. I saved you.
Makes you wonder what they're going to do with the next ones. If his arc was over the course of this movie, now what?
Well, as we watched the cartoon show, spoilers, but we watched the cartoon show, and just some guy kills the dragon.
That was sort of odd, yeah. I'm guessing they will embellish on that to an extent in the movies, but I don't know.
In the cartoon, Bilbo Baggins tells a little magic bird where the hole in the dragon's armor is, and then the magic bird tells some guy.
Yeah.
And he shoots him, and then the dragon, and so...
This is where Tolkien fans get mad at us for calling whoever that is just some guy. I'm sure he's super important or something.
Maybe, but he's not, it's not like...
It's not the Hobbit, it's not Bilbo.
J.R.R. Tolkien, like, his stories are written in a different era, you know? It's not like the heroes fighting the dragon.
Yeah.
And I think Tolkien has no idea what he was doing. I just picture Peter Jackson going, oh, Jesus, fuck, oh, Christ, what am I do here?
It's actually impressive how Peter Jackson has taken Tolkien's work and made it, kind of found a nice balance between making a more traditional narrative and staying true to Tolkien.
Yes, you have to find that balance.
Yeah, and he's done that pretty well.
Yeah.
This is the only one out of the 4 movies that felt a little stoppy-starty to me, a little too often.
Yes. Before they had a nicer flow to them.
Yeah.
I tried reading the Lord of the Rings books, and I got about...
You could not get me to read those.
I got about 50 pages in, and I got tired of reading the word fortnight. It was people moving along a map and complex details about this map and stopping and stopping and camping and moving around and staying for a fortnight here and a fortnight. And I was like, you know, I need to go out and play outside.
I understand.
I need to go
on your own adventures.
I need to go feel the sunshine on my face, make friends, meet a nice girl.
Are you going to do any of these things someday?
I plan to.
Okay.
Here, Mr. Bilbo, where are you off to? I'm going on an adventure.
Well, I guess we're being kind of down on the movie, even though I don't think either of us disliked it all that much.
No,
So what are some things you enjoyed about the film?
I'm not being down on the movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I had a great time watching it. It's a very good movie.
For me, it was a good movie. I did like it. It's slightly disappointing as someone that really, really liked the previous movies.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of missing a little bit of that sort of heart, that emotional connection. And maybe that'll develop more as the series goes on, hopefully. But for me, I mean, the Lord of the Rings movies, what really drives that emotionally is the relationship between Sam and Frodo, specifically Sam, and how his sort of unwavering devotion to Frodo, and that's really the heart of that series of stories. And this one, that's not there, at least not yet.
Yeah.
That was established in the first Lord of the Rings movie in Fellowship, so we'll see what happens. But
there's no real connection.
Hopefully they'll try and work some more of that in with the later films.
Yeah. I didn't get magnetized to anything particular in the movies. They weren't bad. They were very good, very well made.
I was riveted during the Gollum stuff. I thought that was a great little section
that's
of the
something
movie.
we should discuss.
Yeah.
Is the Gollum performance and the Gollum.
Gollum is just as impressive as he was in Lord of the Rings. Just a great performance.
Yeah.
Really sort of pathetic and sad, and it's really good stuff by Andy Serkis again.
Yours is precious, then we eat it.
So we actually saw The Hobbit twice. It is, of course, a lot of people know, playing in what's called high frame rates, 3D, 48 frames a second, the movie was shot in. But I do not like 3D. You do not like 3D. So we decided the first time we would see it, we just wanted to watch the movie. So we saw a standard, regular projection of it. And then we went back to see what all the fuss was. There's been a lot of controversy over this 48 frames a second business.
Deservedly so.
Deservedly so. So we thought we would check it out. So Mike, what were your impressions of the high frame rate 3D projection of The Hobbit?
Well, it was a nightmare. It was what they call a living nightmare. A disaster and an insult to everything I hold dear. For one, we didn't just see the film in high frame rate and 3D, which are two 3D's okay here and there. I will avoid 3D movies at all costs. I may have seen one 3D movie that I sort of enjoyed watching, but for the most part, it's a terrible, terrible experience.
Yeah.
Put high frame rate on top of that, and it makes it worse.
Yes.
But on top of that, we saw it on an ultra screen, which normally is fine. We saw it in an ultra screen in the Marcus Majestic Theater, which is a beautiful theater in Brookfield, Wisconsin. They have a great ultra screen there, but we arrived a little late and had to sit down in the corner in the front.
Can you promise that I will come back?
No.
Other than the sound, everything else was terrible about the experience.
The sound was amazing.
The sound
I will
was
give
great,
it that.
yeah.
It was better than the first time we saw it.
Yeah, but I'm looking up at an image that's gigantic
And distorted.
and distorted.
because of the angle we're at.
I'm watching it through annoying 3D glasses that don't cover the full spectrum of my vision. It dims the picture significantly, and everyone looks like they're moving quickly, and the film looks like a terrible video.
Yes.
So this film, Peter Jackson, high frame rate, all these doohickeys and gizmos and fads and whatever the fuck else is happening, it's almost like they're intentionally trying to ruin the movie experience.
This isn't a fad, though. 48 frames is the future of cinema, Mike. I don't know if you understand that. This is going to change the way we view movies forever. That's the goal. Why are you against change? What do you have against progress? Is it because it looks like absolute garbage and makes you want to shoot yourself in the face?
Yes.
Is that your problem?
Yes. Well, let's take it a step back, shall
Okay,
we?
all right,
Let's
fair
explain
enough.
what 48 frames is. Here's the deal, everyone. Film is and always has been projected and recorded at 24 frames a second. Video is a little different. It's 30 frames a second, or 29.97, because of video fields and all sorts of technical stuff that is too complicated to get into. But film is projected at 24 frames a second. So we have 1 second to drop this bottle cap. Whatever, 24 frames of it falling and hitting the thing. The Hobbit is shot at 48 frames a second, so it's technically, when you shoot more frames, it slows it down.
Right.
You shoot 60 frames, 100 frames. 100 frames means it's going to fall at 100 frames till it hits the thing. You shoot at 10 frames, it's going to go whoop, much faster.
Yes.
So old-time movies had a slower frame rate, so that's why the old-time movies look all fast and stuff.
Yeah.
So what Peter Jackson and other people shooting at this high frame rate are doing are shooting 48 frames, which is technically slower, and then speeding it up. They're not necessarily speeding it up, but it's matching real time, but there's more information.
There's less motion blur. There's more clarity in the image, which is better for 3D, I guess, even though I hate 3D anyway.
Yeah. I would enjoy watching a high frame rate projection of like a nature documentary, like the Earth series, the BBC Earth, Planet Earth,
Yeah.
whatever it's called. An IMAX 3D experience of some kind like that. But we're used to motion blur in film,
Yeah.
because that's the way that it's going through the film gate, and when something pans fast,
Yeah.
it blurs it. When it's smooth, it looks more like video.
Yeah.
So watching this at the high frame rate, it looks like a video.
Yeah, well, it goes a little deeper than just saying, 24 frames, that's what we're used to, so that's why this looks bad. It goes deeper and more into how your brain processes information. And in this case, there's parts where they're moving at normal speed, but your brain processes it as them looking like they're walking fast, like they're sped up. And there were very weird portions in the movie where it looked like they were walking normal, but then all of a sudden it would go like a jerky, like ghost in a bad horror movie or something.
Yeah.
It was very off-putting and weird.
Yeah.
And the clarity of like panning shots, or specifically action scenes where the camera's going crazy and there's a lot going on, because there's so much clarity, it actually made it hard to focus on anything. And this is going to vary from person to person, because you talk about, some people, 3D doesn't work for them. It looks blurry or crappy. Some people can't see those magic eye posters, whatever those are called. So this may look good to some people, but I think the way that most people process the information that's being fed to them at a specific frame rate, it looks horrible and off-putting.
Well, yeah, the parts that got me, when characters were just standing there talking, obviously it was fine. But yeah, I noticed it, like, there's a shot where Bilbo Baggins turns around real fast.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the camera goes, and you're like, whoa! And it looks like it's sped up. And when they're walking, it looks like it's sped up. There were some, like, really epic shots where the camera's going,
That stuff was starting to make me a little nauseous.
it made me sick. I went, oh, too much information in my brain, and it made me, like, my natural reaction was to look away from the screen. So, like, yeah, dim picture, awkward glasses, distorted angle, making me nauseous. It was like someone was, like, hitting me in the face with the bat. Like, don't like movies anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you doing this to us, Peter Jackson?
It is the absolute most hideous looking movie I've ever seen as a result. And it's a shame because I was thinking about it. Even though I was mildly disappointed with the movie, I still liked a lot about it. And when we were getting ready to go see it the second time, I was thinking about, like, oh, I can't wait to revisit this scene or this moment because I liked a lot of stuff in it. And the minute the movie started, I think my physical reaction was, ugh.
Yeah, it was a distracting, terrible experience.
But now the reality is that it's not that difficult to shoot in 3D. I love it when a film draws you in and you become part of the experience. And 3D helps immerse you in the film.
I did try to go in with an open mind. I really did. It's people might not believe that because we're being so hard on it, but I was reading beforehand a lot of things about 48 frame shooting and the projection and all that, and a lot of negative stuff. A lot of people that are really into film seem to hate it. Some positive stuff, so I was like, all right, I will go in, I will give it a shot. Even if I don't like it immediately, I will try and ease into it, see if it grows on me, and it just never did. It just looked horrible. Every moment I was in the theater, I wanted to leave.
It was a perfect storm of bad movie experiences, with the exception of someone kicking the back of your seat.
One's left eye, one's the right eye. One shoots through a mirror, the other one bounces off a mirror.
How does a movie being projected at 48 frames a second alter the story at all?
With using two eyes, we can move the cameras apart, and also, more importantly, is find a convergence point.
Movies are no longer about the story, Jay. They're about the experience, the immersion into a world, as James Cameron put it.
Okay.
They're about things happen, but you're supposed to immerse yourself in a world. It's a carnival ride now.
So in conclusion, go see The Hobbit. It's a pretty enjoyable theatrical experience, unless you're seeing it in all the ways that Peter Jackson would prefer you to see it.
My name is Bilbo Baggins.
Bagginses. What is a Bagginses? Precious.
So I never thought I'd miss the relationship of two gay hobbits.
Here, I got this for you.
What the heck is that?
It's a movie trivia game that they make for dummies. I want to see how bad you fail at it.
Give me that.
This is gonna be hysterical. I need to sit down for this.
Yeah, this shit's easy.
Yeah, these are always super easy questions. Let's do this.
Yeah. We'll show you who knows about movies, mister.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready, Jay?
Ask a question.
All right, I'm gonna say the actors in the movie, you say the movie, all right?
Okay,
Here we
sounds
go.
good.
Here we
Let's go.
First card, watch this.
Shit.
Watch this, Mr. Plinkett. We're gonna throw this down, motherfucker. Here we go.
Yeah.
1982 sci-fi. Drew Barrymore and Steven Spielberg director.
E.T.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
What?
It's a weird coincidence. Mr. Plinkett had a copy of E.T. on VHS right there.
Huh. That's interesting.
Weird.
Well, whatever. Ask me one.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
1999 horror. Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment.
Ha! The Sixth Sense.
That's right.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Oh, look. It's right there.
Has that always been there?
I don't know, but I promise I didn't cheat. I knew that one.
Well,
Seriously.
sure, that was super easy. They're all super easy.
All right.
Read me one.
Okay, 1995 animation. Tom Hanks, Tim Allen.
Toy Story.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
What the fuck?
That just appeared out of thin air.
I saw it too. I saw it with mine own eyes. Jay, what if this game is like some kind of magic Jumanji game? We say the name of the movie, and then it magically appears in its VHS form.
Holy shit, do you know what this means? We could accumulate so many VHS copies of movies that nobody can get rid of. We could start our own landfill.
Oh my God. This is amazing. Let's try it again.
Okay,
Ask me another one.
All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
Uma Thurman, John Travolta.
Pulp Fiction. Oh my God, it's real. It's really happening.
Ask me one.
Okay. Oh my God, this is amazing. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss.
What about Bob? Oh, look, it appeared on top of the fucking curio.
Oh my God! Why did it appear up there? There's no rhyme or reason to any of this.
I don't know. I'm going to ask you one.
This is so exciting.
Marlon Brando, Francis Ford Coppola directs.
That's hard. The Godfather.
Yay!
Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman.
Robin Hood? Is it Robin Hood? I think it's Robin Hood.
Yeah!
Mel Gibson, Danny Glover.
Lethal Weapon.
Yay!
Tom Hanks, Robin Wright Penn.
Who's Robin Wright Penn?
Tom Hanks, Bubba Gump.
Forrest Gump!
Yeah! Okay, Jay, this is a comedy.
All right.
Jim Varney.
Ernest Goes to Camp.
Yes, that's right. Where is it?
It was Ernest Goes to Camp, right? It's not
Yeah.
one of the other Ernest movies? Or
No,
something?
you guessed it right. It does say Ernest Goes to Camp, but I don't see where it has appeared at.